visionary view of where we are and where we're going to go. And I have just a few short reflections before we have lunch. But, you know, as I listen to Dan and Dick and Homer and Mary Lou and all that spoke, I have to put my notes aside and give you just a 1 minute take a little personal reflection on my father. My father was born in 1907, and it's amazing for me to think he'd be 105 years old today. But back when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I can look back now and kind of see it through his eyes. He quit high school in the 9th grade when his father passed away to go to work. He grew up in a rough and tumble inner city neighborhood of immigrants in Rochester, New York. They were kind of Yankee rednecks, if you can picture that. And he had to quit school in the 9th grade and go to work to support his mother and his 2 brothers. And he did that, and he gave up a lot of dreams. But he had one dream, and that was that I would be the first to go to college in our family. And he worked like a dog to make that happen. But what he did in the meantime, he saw this strange little geeky kid get fascinated with water. And my mom passed away when I was 6, so he had a choice. Do I raise my 2 kids or do I pass them off to the family? And he kept us, you know, and he worked all day, and he was a blue-collar, hard-working man. And I remember the scars on his hands. He was a plumber. He'd always get burns and cuts. But he'd come home and he'd iron my clothes, he'd cook the meals, and he realized in order to get me through, he went back to school at night in his 50s to get his GED so he could help me through algebra to make sure I was going to that college. And as a kid, I can picture him at our kitchen table knitting or sewing a butterfly net on a coat hanger and a dip net. And we'd go to the stream, he dug that little pond in our backyard, we stocked that thing out with crayfish. This was in the 50s, you know. And then he watched me take off with this. And he was this blue-collar guy that just knew a good, hard day's work, and he saw something different in me, you know. And he had colorful language. And one day, I probably was about 8, you know, and he always called me Willie. And he sat me down, and he said, you know, Willie, when you grow up, you are either going to be an executive or a bum. But you sure as hell ain't going to work for a living. And I can look back on 20 years and I thought, you know, he's so right because I'm dope, you know. You know, what he said in so many words you've heard today, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, you know. That's been my 20 years with you all. And you know, just he said it a different way. But he's the one that got me to college, and he passed away when I was halfway through my first year. So he never saw the end of it, but he knew it was going to happen. And when I was finishing my first ecology course, Mike mentioned Rachel Carson. That was 62. That was already working on me. In 1970, the first Earth Day hit, and I was bit forever. We were in the streets in 70. And I got that first Earth Day pin, and it's 42 years old now. And every year we've done something, and it's always been water. And so when we got to Auburn, after 11 years of working on rivers in the Northeast and learning all that fish, bug, chemistry stuff, all I saw was rivers are getting worse, and people aren't getting it. Why? Because we're not telling people. We're not helping people. And so my dad instilled in me, you know, that, oh, get the hay down where the girls can get it, you know. Talk plain, talk simple, talk straight. And so that's what we've tried to do in Water Life. Take that water science, which is complicated and hard, and, you know, we've given it a good chunk of our lives to master it. But then, so what if people don't know it and love it and believe in it and use it? And that's all you've heard this morning. And so, you know, I can look back on all of that on a personal level. And if people were, you know, Lynn gave some words of persistence and, you know, a couple key words just to cook it down and wrap it up here. I think what happened in Water Watch's success was we listened. You know, our materials, if you look at these new books, they're just full of everything you've said, you know. And some of you aren't afraid to tell us, hey, that is unclear. You change that, you know. Rewrite that. I don't understand. No, add this. No, add that. Look at our manuals. They're full of your quotes, your pictures, your data. It's only what's come, you know, around iteratively. We write, you correct, we correct, you know, you write. And we've got some top-notch stuff that just push the right buttons. How did we do it? Well, look around, you know. All those groups and things that we've done to customize, and it's been so gratifying to me. And, you know, Sergio and I look back on 20 years of our data and our database, and we realize if you want to look at it kind of like as an organizational growth or even as a business model, that we've had 3 distinct phases. And there are a 7-year period, a 5-year period, and a 7-year period of our 19 to 20 years. The first was this exponential growth, like a new business takes off. The second phase was this cresting and, you know, equilibrium-seeking kind of thing. And then we've hit this 7-year where we're kind of flatlined, which is good news, and it's also challenging. To a business, that's called a mature organization. You've gotten through all the humps and bumps, and you're on this steady state. But tell you what, 7 years, you've got to think of the next big idea. You've got to expand. You've got to dream, and you've got to think big, or you will go into a decline. And any public administrator or business person will tell you that's what happens to the hotel, the gas station, the tube of toothpaste, whatever. It's got to be, you know, out there with the next big thing. So even before the shock of the funding loss came, we were poised. We had to step up. We had to think about this new thing. And that's what we've tried to convey today about our focus on youth, our touch on policy and the use of our bacteriological data. And those just scratch the surface. There's so many other things, but we've got to stay open to that. And just to wrap up, another little down-home story. It's an old-timer. I know it's at least 40 years old. I think it's older than that. But I'm going to modify it. It's a short story about a chicken and a pig. And some of you may have heard this, but I'm going to just give a few little tweaks and turn it into a Water Watch chicken and pig story, okay? The chicken and pig were good friends. They hung out in the barnyard together. And they learned that there was this local Water Watch group that was going to do a creek cleanup. And the local church was going to put on the breakfast for the group before they went out. And that chicken said to the pig, you know, we've been friends a long time. This is a good group. They're doing good things for this part of the world. What do you say you and I step up and provide the food for a good bacon and egg breakfast? The pig, you know, he scratched his head a little bit. He said, you know, for you that's a minor contribution. For me it's total commitment. So, you know, today, maybe you're going to buy a t-shirt. You know, thanks for the egg, you know. Maybe you're going to join us at $25 level. Egg, you know. We need a whole bunch of eggs. We need a lot of eggs. Dozens and dozens of eggs, you know. But we've got people like our board, like you heard from Mike or Patty, founding board members, 20 years in the trenches, you know, baking, you know. We got Sergio, we often leave, he's up at midnight, 2 a.m., fixing your database problems. Baking, you know. We've got trainers that have done dozens of workshops, way beyond the call of a minimum of 2, and so on. Bacon. So we need both, you know, and you've been challenged, you know, by everyone that spoke today. And you know, we can't sugarcoat it. You've heard the dead, you've heard all kinds of stuff. But I hope, you know, truly you hear optimism. You hear optimism. But we will only be as good as we are. If anyone says, well, they, don't use the they language. Use the we language, the us language. And we still got some neat opportunity. I'm so glad Paul is here to hear this from all of you.
opportunities, about partnerships on campus. But we also have foundations, we have corporations, small business, other government grants, even continued relationships with ADEM in other ways, and so on. So there's lots of that. But Mona's going to show us now some of the practical things you could do even before you leave today to help us get connected, to help us press those buttons for the next view of what we'll be, so we do hit that 20 years. And I just want to thank you. It's just been such a great, great time, these 20 years looking back. I feel like the luckiest person in the room, in that maybe I'm the one that had the most opportunity to go to bed thinking Water Watch and to wake up thinking Water Watch for 20 years, you know. It's just a dream come true. And it will keep going in some shape or form. Thank you.